longer. Made in Australia for over 100 years, Dux hot water systems are built stronger to last longer. Dux.com.au. Dux hot water, built stronger to last longer. Dux hot water, built stronger to last longer. Dux.
Now, back live with Alan Jones.
Look, before we go, the power of our political class has never, ever been greater, has it? These people, as you saw with Gladys Berejiklian today, have got no plans to relinquish their control over us. I spoke of mandatory vaccine passports months ago with Curtin University's Dr Rocco Loiacono. Again, we were lone voices in the media. That doesn't bother me, but it was dismissed as some far-fetched idea and one which would never reach our shores. Think again. The UK government denied vehemently that mandatory vaccine passports would be introduced. Even the UK vaccines minister labelled them as discriminatory. In February, he declared loftily, "That's not how we do things here. We do them by consent." Boris Johnson repeatedly scoffed at the suggestion of vaccine passports, but on his Freedom Day address from Chequers this week, Boris Johnson said that from September, double vaccination would be required to enter nightclubs and other, quote, crowded events. He went on, "Proof of a negative test will no longer be enough." Here are the Conservatives in the UK. And next, you can bet your house on the same thing being introduced here in Australia. Requirements like vaccine passports only prove that when governments kept telling us that lockdowns were in place so that hospitals would not be overwhelmed, that was an untruth. It's about long-term coercive control, and I warned of this. If we go down this road, which appears inevitable, it'll be the first time in history where domestic privileges and freedoms are granted based on someone's health status. Free association would no longer be a right, but a government-conferred privilege. Politicians have assumed power, and now they won't relinquish it. Just see how Brad Hazzard acts each day. Does he look like a politician who's hating his newfound power? Far from it. It makes him feel tough. Emmanuel Macron in France has introduced the Pass Sanitaire, or vaccine passport. He now has thousands protesting in the streets. This is a mechanism designed to frighten people into getting the jab, but the French know it's blackmail in what should be a free society. But bit by bit, our freedoms count for little. This vaccine passport is the next stone in the road. Which brings me to the thought for the night. Power does not corrupt, fear corrupts, perhaps the fear of a loss of power. That's it from me. Paul's up next. I'll see you next week. Good night.
This is Paul Murray Live, Our Town.
Thank you very much, King. Now, a lot of people can't leave their home right now. You can't go to work. You can't take the kids to school. But this is a beautiful country. And tonight we will do what we do each and every month, which is celebrate this big, beautiful country, because it is a big one and there's a big world out there. And we've got stories for you tonight from all over the map. Celebrations of the good people who make up this country and the people who will make you proud to be Australian, regardless of what leadership you suffer under when it comes to a state government. So thank you and welcome to a special edition of Paul Murray Live. But first, as always, my observations of the day. Now, we need hope and we need things to look forward to. That's what's awesome about the Olympics in 2032. But also a wonderful little moment of thanks. That while we battle in Australia, there are other countries that do it even tougher than we do. And there are people who desperately need work, not just in this country, but also in places like the Pacific Islands, specifically the Solomon Islands. And there are hundreds of people who would love to come to Australia to be able to work the jobs that Australians, for whatever reason, don't want to do. A perfect example are a couple of hundred people who are currently in a form of quarantine. They came from Samoa. They will eventually work on the farms of Australia. Today, they decided, as an act of thank you to this country, to step out of hotel quarantine all at once, to step on the balcony and to sing a Christian hymn. A hymn of thanks to Australia for giving them the hope at work and financial security back at home. That is my favourite thing that happened today. To any of them that have got the telly on right now in the Best Western in Tassie, We're glad you're here. Can't wait for you to be able to get to work and send some money home to make sure that your families are taken care of, just like all the families in this country need to be taken care of, and why we fight so hard against the idiocy of some of the extreme elements of these lockdowns. But first, I want to talk about not politics, but psychological warfare. It's what the media have been waging against the Prime Minister for the past few days. For some reason, they decided that this was the week that the Prime Minister had to say sorry for the vaccine rollout. You may have heard them say it over and over and over again.
I've never heard the word sorry. Guys, you know what? Sorry. We did screw it up, but we're getting it right now.
A lot of people have been scratching their heads. Why is it that you so firmly believe the government doesn't need to say sorry about anything in relation to the failings of the vaccine rollout?
People are angry, people are frustrated. The PM won't say sorry. Are you prepared to say sorry for the rollout? Sorry seems to be the hardest word though, right?
You were asked a number of times to say sorry yesterday. Why couldn't you say that then?
It's BS, it's theatre. It's just a pile-on from people who don't like a particular political leader. That's fine, that's part of politics. But again, nothing happens differently in terms of the number of people who get vaccinated or not, whether the Prime Minister says the word they want them to say or not. And yesterday, he made it pretty clear that it doesn't really matter whether the word sorry is used or not.
I take responsibility for the problems we've had, but I'm also taking responsibility for the solutions we're putting in place and the vaccination rates that we're now achieving.
Now, again, you can like or dislike this Prime Minister, but fairly obviously he's been running himself ragged for the best part of 2 years, trying to hold a country together. A country that is splitting at the seams, that turns state versus state, that treats fellow Australians as if they are literal or virtual lepers. Yet even after he said what was clearly a sensible thing yesterday, the media yet again showed that they are participants, not observers. One of the chief ranters over there at the Turnbull Times said that Morrison offers microaggression and deflection when all we want is an apology and a solution. Who's the we? Now, the we, of course, is the media who have always hated this Prime Minister. They hate you for voting for this government. They hate that the quiet Australians won't roll over and give them the woke-topia that, for whatever reason, they think that Australia has to have. And, of course, all of this has political implications. Because who are the media parroting, or who are the politicians parroting when it comes to the media? Well, you take your pick.
Well, sorry really is the hardest word for Mr Morrison to say, and what an extraordinary day of spin and lies from the Prime Minister yesterday. He says he takes responsibility, but in the very next breath, he finds a long list of other people to blame.
Honestly, as if we live in some sort of North Korean fiefdom where the sole leader of the country clicks their fingers and things magically happen. Again, singing from the Stefanovic song sheet was Each Way Albo.
And now he's looking for excuses and looking for someone else to blame. Yesterday we know that he channeled Elton John. Sorry seems to be the hardest word.
Oh, you flog. So yes, finally he said the word sorry and all was right with the world.
I'm keen to ensure, as we have been over these many months, that we've been turning this around. I'm certainly sorry that we haven't been able to achieve the marks that we had hoped for at the beginning of this year. Of course I am. But what's more important is that we're totally focused on ensuring that we've been turning this around.
So the media, of course, took a victory lap. In taxpayer television, surprisingly, the Turnbull Times as well, all with their celebrations of sorry. So yes, congratulations, you did it. You got the Prime Minister to say sorry and all was right with the world. What garbage. This isn't accountability. This is psychological warfare from people who hate the bloke. Like him or dislike him, but that's the game that they are playing right now and any sane person can see it. But here's the reality of the vaccine rollout in a country that has 25 million people in it, from the earliest baby to a person who'll drop off the twig tomorrow. 10.6 million doses of the vaccine have been administered thus far. That's incredible. Is it enough? Never, because we're not at the full 100%, but we're never going to get there for all the reasons I've laid out for a long time. Yesterday, almost twice the size of the MCG was vaccinated in any one day. And when it comes to the most vulnerable population by age, well, they are hitting vaccination rates that the rest of the country is nowhere near and probably won't hit either. In fact, if you're over the age of 50, 61% of people have at least had one jab. They're starting to get their insurance against the virus, not from catching it or passing it on, but definitely from going to hospital or dying. And 76% of people over the age of 70 are in that boat too. And again, the psychological warfare where you can pick and choose your statistics to tell your story. This is how Australia is going compared to the rest of the world and the country that so often our left-leaning media would like to compare us to. We are above the rest of the world when it comes to the number that are fully vaccinated or one of two jabs. To put it into numbers rather than graphs, 29% of the Australian population has had at least one jab of this. It's 26% around the world, which means we're basically on average. And New Zealand, with its woketopia, with no state governments and with Queen Ardern in charge, it's behind Australia on 19.2. So let's talk about the word sorry and which political leaders need to say sorry. At the start of the pandemic, when it got out of control in China, as you know, knew that there was a problem, but wouldn't tell the rest of the world. So they decided to literally weld people in their homes in Wuhan, China, to stop the spread. They limited domestic flights, but kept the international flights going, exporting the virus to the rest of the world. You want to talk about leaders who need to say sorry. Today in South Australia, people who don't have the virus have been sent to a Medi hotel. Now, this is not a Medi hotel where you can go and pop out and play some golf or go for a swim. You are locked in your room. Sure, not Wuhan style, but you have about as much freedom as those people did at the height of the pandemic. The Nutty Professor, it was open that people who don't even have the virus are being taken to facilities and can't leave.
There were 91 people from the Greek on Halifax, from the Tenerife winery, which of course we've only recognised more recently to be a high-risk transmission site. There are 125 people that we have identified at this point in time. Because of these being a high-risk location, what we're doing at the moment is moving all of those people into the Medi Hotel facility.
In Australia, in July of 2021, people who are not sick have been taken from their homes and placed in a facility that they choose not to be in and that they can't leave. No pressure for sorry. Instead, this garbage is what the media was serving up to the Nutty Professor in South Australia today.
Yesterday, a lot of people took your advice to reorganise their soft drawers. What's the husband's job today? And a lot of people are following along with it.
Oh, well, my dear husband had a lot of friends emailing him, asking him how he was going.
You want to talk about sorry? Where's the sorry to the families of the 768 people who died because the Victorian government chose not to properly guard hotel quarantine? Where is the sorry from the Queensland government to the woman who lost one of her twins because of hard borders? Where's the sorry from the New South Wales government for waving through the Ruby Princess and spreading the virus in part around Australia and literally causing deaths? But you don't get sorry out of these people. You get told to shut up. Most people in the media don't even ask for it. And you can't expect much of a sorry from the Health Minister, Brad Hazzard, the Health Hazard, as I call him, in New South Wales, because remember, this was the bloke who wouldn't apologise to the family of a little girl who in a car accident broke her neck. You remember we raised money and talked about Lorelei Chambers a few months ago. They never said sorry that Wyong Hospital turned her away and didn't give her a CAT scan. She ended up having so much pain that she was throwing up the painkillers her family were giving to her, and eventually she went to another hospital where, guess what? They did a scan and they worked out that she had a broken neck. No sorry from the Health Minister. No demands for sorry from a media that is playing psychological warfare, not having accountability. And also, today, Brad Hazzard went as low as he has gone in a while, and this bloke finds new ways to go low. Today, he decided to put a little message out there today that this channel, and by inference, every one of its presenters, including me, have not done an adequate job of telling you of the benefits of vaccination. Forgive my language, but that's bullshit, and you know it. Here is the health hazard taking a little swipe and playing media games.
It's a light in my life to think that there is somebody out there from the media who is not only prepared to put the message out there, but get the message to young people about the fact that it's needed. Danica, don't ruin a good... I know Sky's great, but I've got to say, right now, Kiss is doing a lot better job on that. Sarah.
Seriously. Now, it's awesome that Kyle got the vaccination. I love the song, and I agree with him. In fact, you know how many complaint letters I get for the advocacy of the vaccine. Here's a little reminder. So here's the deal. You should get vaccinated. You know that I support vaccination, and it annoys some people that are watching, but too bad, I do. I believe that when you get your chance to have the vaccine, you should have the vaccine. You and I are ever popular with parts of the audience when we say you should get vaccinated, but you should get vaccinated. Now, I'm a strong supporter of the vaccine. I want people to have the vaccine. I know that annoys some people, but sorry, that's my view, okay? So feel free not to push that sort of misinformation around. But he doesn't care. Because as you saw in his frustration, he was frustrated that people were interrupting his soundbite. This bloke is a danger because this bloke's ego is out of control. This bloke's very own community has 0 mystery cases, yet can't go to school and can't go to work. Again, you want to talk about sorry right now? Well, have a look at this. In Greater Sydney, there are 35 council areas. 14 of the 35 have 4 or fewer mystery cases. 4 have just 1 mystery case, and there are 12 local government areas in Greater Sydney with none. Their kids can't go to school. They can't go to work. So let's think about this. Tonight, while they push for the sorries to play politics, hundreds of thousands of people cannot go to work despite the fact there are 0 cases where they live. There is no more money from the New South Wales government a full week after they decided to extend lockdown, yet offered small businesses a small amount of money that they were allowed to supplement by going to work. And how is it that press conferences are not dominated every single day by the fact that kids can't go back to school? Not just in Sydney, but in all of Victoria. Not just in Sydney, but all of Victoria and all of South Australia. This week we learned from the Kids Helpline that there are kids literally in lockdown right now who are calling for help because they are being abused. The reason the most vulnerable should go to school is because their teachers, if they see abuse, have to report the abuse. You cannot tell me that after a month in Greater Sydney, 2 weeks, almost 3 in Melbourne, and a week in South Australia, that we still can't work out how to take care of our kids. Because despite what you may hear and read, we are taking care of our vulnerable. Touch wood, there have been no problems in nursing homes this time around. There were very few problems in nursing homes with the exception of those in their hundreds who died in Victoria. So you want to talk about sorry? Look into the mirror and use the power that you have, not to achieve a political goal that you still may or may not achieve next year. Think about the most vulnerable people in your audiences. And think about the people who are just being screwed over, who did nothing wrong. By health officials who literally today, I repeat, took more than 100 people who are not sick from their homes and put them in a facility that they can't leave. It's Wuhan without the welding kit. A couple of other things to mention tonight, and there are other things that are around tonight, including a whole bunch of uni students and academics have decided to blow up. Why? Because the Confucius Institute's being shut down at Melbourne University? No, because an institute that bears the name of Robert Menzies is about to be established. But of course, free speech. Meantime, a woman has received an absolute bollocking from a judge today after it turned out that many of her claims about domestic violence were incorrect and she was planting the alleged weapons on her partner. Meantime, not content with the wokeification of all sport, in the United States, the National Football League will not just play the Star Spangled Banner, but they will also play the Black National Anthem before every single NFL game. One country, two anthems. Jeff Bezos flew what looked like a giant penis to space in the past couple of days, and he's rather happy with himself because, of course, he pays his workers 4/5 of bugger all. He's destroyed small businesses everywhere, but he got to see the planet from a really cool angle.
Try again. Is it everything you thought it would be? Here, look. Oh yeah, bing bong balls. Ready? Woohoo! Here it comes. Yeah. Hi, Mom!
Meantime, of course, Anastasia Palaszczuk in Tokyo, I should say, is that Tokyo have decided to sack the person who's already done the opening and closing ceremonies because they found a bad tweet from 1999. That's pre-cancelling, isn't it? Meantime, Anastasia Palaszczuk, despite the fact she said she wouldn't go and see anything, will be going and seeing the opening ceremony of the Tokyo Olympic Games because, you know, it's really important.
You are going to the opening ceremony. I'm still the Deputy Chair of the Candidature Leadership Group, and so far as I understand, that there will be an opening and a closing ceremony in 2032, and all of you have got to get along there and understand the traditional parts of that, what's involved in an opening ceremony. So none of you are staying behind and hiding in your rooms, all right?
I don't want to offend anybody, so...
Never been to an opening ceremony at Olympic Games, have you? You don't know the protocols? I think it's part of it's a very important lesson for everyone here.
She was always going to go because they were always going to win. And it's great that they have the Olympics. But the reason that I blew up as hard as I did about the whole theatre of her deciding to go was that at the very same government, at the very same time, her very own government were telling people who were fully vaccinated like her that they couldn't be with their newborn baby or couldn't go to their dying families. It's not because I hate the Labor Party or somehow didn't want Brisbane to get the Olympics. It's because, just as it is with Bezos, just as it is with Hazard, just as it is with the media, just as it is with Palaszczuk, no inconvenience if you're at the front end of the plane. For the rest of us who can't even get to the airport, go stuff yourself, right? And without doubt, the coolest thing to end tonight on is this little kid who's going to be the youngest person ever, she's 7, to give a TED Talk. Her TED Talk is to plead to the mums and dads, nanas and poppers of this country, can you please put the devices down and just play with us like you used to?
What if I was to tell you that a game of peekaboo could change the world? Sounds impossible, right? Well, I'm here today to prove it's not. My talk today is about some powerful things you grown-ups can do that shape us as children and the adults we become. How do I know? Because my parents and people around me did them.
What a cutie. She inspires me to do exactly that over this weekend. I hope you get a chance to do it as well. Now, as always, we like to celebrate the fullness of this country. It sucks that we can't leave our homes, let alone our states at the moment, but let's give you a sample of the awesomeness that is this country. We were tonight planning to do this program from the foot of the Snowy Mountains, to do it from Jindabyne, but that doesn't mean just because I can't make it there that we won't do that story and lots of others from around the country, because we've got great reporters like Jonathan Lee, who tells the story of the Snowy, a very different snow season, and a very important project that is keeping people employed.
The Snowy Mountains are made up of tourist towns towns where families come to build memories, where snowmen and toboggans bring thrills and spills. But right now, the ski slopes are empty here, and it's businesses being left out in the COVID cold.
Order up? Yeah. I'll grab you some water as well.
In January, snowboarder Laura Stamp took a leap and bought a business with a hubby in Jindabyne.
Constantly was asking me, can I work for myself? Can we work for myself? Can we start our own business?
They were hanging on the recent public school holidays to bring home the bacon. Then
Sydney went into lockdown and, yeah, we didn't get that tourist trade. We didn't get that boom.
Like many, they're down 30 to 40%, biting into their bottom line.
Everyone relies on that winter trade. They rely on the school holidays. It actually often quite carries you through sometimes the whole year.
The area is just really, it's like a ghost town really at the moment.
In the peak season, it's a scramble to nab a table here, let alone a hotel room, which should be booked out. Instead,
the businesses are claiming to have probably 20% of occupancy at the moment.
Tom Pelly bought the historic Mawamba River Lodge with his dad.
We always knew that when COVID came in that it would affect us, and we've sort of prepared for it.
Last year they shut Mawamba for the year. To be safe, they've converted shared accommodation into chalets and waited for the huge dumps of snow to bring the tourists. The weather did its part, but not the virus.
Yeah, we've had a 70% loss in bookings due to COVID.
Now, like many here, they're giving full refunds.
We wouldn't want to punish people that can't travel.
On the hills, we found the Nataris family, a rarity. They've flown from Cairns to Canberra to get here. It would have been cheaper to go to Queenstown, but they wanted to show their support.
Yeah, we're probably one of the lucky ones that have been able to get out and try and enjoy, you know, the beautiful weather, I guess, it's putting on.
Ironically, this year's falls are powder perfect. The Snowy Mountains are as beautiful as they are barren. And while it's a winter wonderland now, the truth is the region and its businesses are still battling the aftermath of the Black Summer bushfires, long seared into everyone's minds. The fires burned for weeks. Just ask Brad Spalding of the Wild Brumby Snaps Distillery down the road. He may laugh about his range.
Yeah, it's a beautiful drink. That's our best seller.
Liquid God, isn't it?
Yeah, it's liquid. Yeah, that's sex in your mouth, mate, that stuff.
It's paying the mortgage.
That is, yeah, that definitely is.
But the fire's impact is real.
Yeah, the last 2 years have really tested the whole region and the community in many ways, because we had the bushfires, and then we went from the bushfires, we had a bit of a break, and then we went into the virus. So we've had basically 2 years of really uncertain times.
While his cafe is open, he fears business is getting worse around town, leaving everyone dependent on August, the most important ski month. With Aussies trapped at home, it's been booked months in advance.
It's the absolute cream. Now, if we get that, we're going to be looking pretty good.
And if you don't?
It's going to knock us about incredibly. It's really going to cut hard without August.
There is some good news. Back in Cooma, the hyped Snowy Hydro 2.0 is being built.
Amazing in a world that's been destroyed through fires, COVID, recession, that is still steaming ahead. It's a credit to all the workers involved.
There are 1,200 workers, 600 local, digging 27 kilometres of tunnels, including a massive power station under a mountain. It's Australia's largest committed renewable energy project, and it's dangerous stuff.
We actually stopped the job 21 times early in the year because we didn't believe the contract was operating at anywhere near our safety standards. You know, on the original scheme, 121 people died. We're not going to kill anyone on this job. That is not going to happen.
With safety prioritised, it will be a crucial cog in the local economy until 2026. But everyone around here, though, is just waiting to hear one phrase.
Out of lockdown, go to the snow.
In the meantime,
we're a tough town. We'll push through it and we'll get through it.
Because in the tourist towns carved from rock, there is stone in its people.
We're mountain people. We'll get through it. Mountain people have to be tough.
They just ask, when you get the chance, don't wait too long to come back and bring your family with you. Jonathan Lee for Paul Murray in Jindabyne, Sky News.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good man, good sign-off. I like that. Stuart Ayres is the Tourism Minister in New South Wales. He's part of also the emergency cabinet that's making the decisions about what's locked down and not. He seems to be being outvoted at the moment because he says all the right things outside of that room, and you have to assume he's saying the same in. Stuart joins us now. Stuart, you've talked about how we need to evolve the response to things like COVID. Well, here we are, the best part of a month into a lockdown that's having the exact effect that we've just shown in places like Jindabyne.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal out there, Paul, right across the state. Even though the lockdown's happening here in Sydney, it's really decimated the tourism sector right across regional New South Wales. And here in Sydney, where we've had to shut down construction, that's had a huge impact on the ability to keep people employed. The supply chain that hangs off that construction sector is huge. So there's no doubt that there's a lot of pain in the community. There's a fair bit of anger as well. But we've got to continue to make sure that we put people's health at the front of the queue, work through these challenges, make sure we help people as much as we possibly can along the way, and really, I think, take inspiration from what was in that story we just saw. I see in people right across the community the steel, the granite that's in them, their resilience, and how much they've been tested over the last 18 months. And I find that pretty inspiring every single day to make sure that whenever I go to work, whether it's in my office in Penrith or out on the street in Western Sydney or in a cabinet room, they're the people that I'm representing, and I'm making sure their voice gets heard.
But even steel and granite does have a breaking point at some point in time. Yes, it's a whole lot stronger than lots of other things, and I agree about the spirit of the people that are here. I've been critical of the financial support for businesses in New South Wales, that it hasn't scaled up as the orders have scaled up. Is there going to be a change in that? Because previously that was a good supplement when you could still kind of keep working. But if you can't leave your house, including in the areas aforementioned that have zero cases, mystery cases in Sydney, they can't go anywhere. So is there going to be a change in any of that?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is make sure the funding that we've made available, we get out the door, and that started to flow this week. I've had a lot of positive feedback from businesses who have started to see that hit their bank accounts. Also, individuals are now starting to receive those payments as well. So that's had some positive impact. But I've also had lots of reports from businesses that are still working through guidelines. Accommodation is another sector that we've got support coming to them, but it's still a couple of weeks away by the looks of it. So we've just got to work harder to put that money out the door, get it in those bank accounts. But I was talking to a service department operator in Western Sydney today, that what we're giving them is going to supplement their work, but they're going to lose a lot of money during this lockdown. And what they're trying to do is keep their staff together, keep their staff connected. They know that this is a bit of an artificial reduction in economic activity, and they want to be there ready to go when we open back up again.
Now, when eventually that happens, and I obviously, like everyone, hope it's sooner rather than later, and it starts to ramp itself out, and I get it about Fairfield, I get it about the areas that are all there right now, but something that has been pretty popular in lots of states and very popular in New South Wales has been these special vouchers where the state government essentially helps you buy dinner or go and buy accommodation or go to the movies, go to 10-pin bowling. Will that scheme come back, and would the expectation be that because of the length and depth of this particular knock at the moment, that those numbers would be even higher, that you'll give more money, bigger chunks via those vouchers?
Yeah, the Dine and Discover vouchers have just been an absolute hit here in New South Wales. The $25 vouchers, they're leading to around $48, $49 in total expenditure. So basically small businesses are getting $2 for one out of the family or the person that's coming into the shop. I've got no doubt that Dine and Discover vouchers will be a key part of our recovery. We were just about to launch a whole series of accommodation vouchers here in Sydney to support the recovery of the tourism sector in the Sydney CBD. We've put that on hold, obviously, during the lockdown, but we'll be looking to support tourism and accommodation operators right across Sydney particularly, but even across regional New South Wales. They're the discussions that I'm having with the Treasurer, Dominic Perrottet, making sure that not only are we preparing to come out of this lockdown and fighting COVID in this situation that we find ourselves in now, but we're also using this time to prepare for that recovery and support businesses when people are able to move around our state. I saw this last year when we let everyone go. They really hit out into regional New South Wales incredibly well. We saw some really big numbers in a lot of the tourism towns. A lot of people reported back to me that they had some of their best quarters they'd had in 20 years. I get the sense that the spring's going to be wound up pretty tight by the time we come out of this lockdown. So we really want to make sure that we support those businesses, give people a bit of money to be able to go out and really allow them to recover and enjoy, particularly from my perspective, regional New South Wales. But to be frank with you, Paul, it doesn't matter where you are in Australia. When you get out of these lockdowns, get out, spend your money right across the country. Businesses so need that.
Bloody oath. Thank you very much, Minister. Do appreciate you fronting for us tonight. Thank you, mate.
No, thanks, Paul.
Stuart Ayres is the Tourism Minister right now, and he is arguing the right side of the coin. 12 have no mystery cases right now in all of Greater Sydney. Yet they can't go to school, can't go to work. One of the businesses that is absolutely caught in all of this is the Scenic Railway, which is up in the Blue Mountains. And I had a chance to have a chat to the person who runs that, Anthea Hammond, a little bit earlier in the week.
Yeah, so here at Scenic World, obviously we're closed under the lockdown that's occurring across Greater Sydney, and I think even if we were open at the moment, we wouldn't have any customers anyway. So, maybe this is for the best at the moment, as it means we have been able to stand down our staff and take the best care of them we can under this difficult situation. In the government support really hasn't been enough. We've lost more than $1 million in revenue across July. And $10,000 is a bit of a drop in the ocean compared to that. We have to maintain over $90 million worth of infrastructure, whether we're open or closed, and need to keep paying staff to do that. So it's a really challenging time, not just for Scenic World, but for businesses across the whole Blue Mountains and Sydney region.
So are we talking about dipping into whatever reserves are allegedly there at the moment, or are you guys close to having to have to borrow money to keep the joint running when there's no one on the scenic route?
I mean, certainly dipping into reserves, obviously, when there's no revenue coming in, there's nowhere else to get those funds from. We talk to our bank every week to make sure that we have a great relationship with them. But as I said, those base costs of maintenance, electricity, they're all still there whether we're open or closed. And we've been asking both the state and federal government for further assistance to help us get through this period. Really need help to get through not just this lockdown, but the next 6 to 12 months until we see internationals return.
Well, because that's the problem too. Let's imagine the lockdown ended tomorrow. I wish. But let's imagine this thing ended tomorrow. Well, automatically things don't go straight back to full freight because there'll be limits on the amount of people that you can have on the rides at any one time. There'll be limits on the number of people who can here, there or everywhere. So it would be many, many more weeks before you would even have a chance at getting back to a quote-unquote normal revenue week.
Yeah, look, we think that is the case, and we have now lost Christmas due to the Northern Beaches outbreak, and we had a decent Easter, but now we've also lost the July school holidays, and many tourism businesses at the moment are only making money during those school holidays.
But you had made a substantial investment in trying to find a new way to extend the hours, to extend the experience of people with your business. You introduced a thing called Disco Skyway, so people would be able to experience it even greater at night. Whole plans ready for the school holidays. How long did Disco Skyway last this time?
We got one night of Light Up the Night, our event was called, so included our Disco Skyway, as you said, as well as a eats European-esque style eating experience and some UV face painting and the ability to go and experience the beautiful nightly walks around Katoomba. So we did get one night of that in, and there's been a lot of interest on it, but we are hoping that once we reopen again, whenever that is, we'll do it across a number of weekends, because we did have so much interest and we know a lot of people want to come, so we're really looking forward to welcoming them back.
Now, a lot of people watching us who run a business know the answer to this question, but to those who don't, let's be clear. How many staff do you have, and have you put them off on annual leave so that they can maintain their level of income, or they're using the federal government support, which means the best they're doing is $600 a week?
So we went out to all of our staff at the beginning of this. So we have 123-ish staff. We went out to all of them at the beginning, and I said, I'm going to work on the following principles, and those principles are that I'm going to do whatever I can to maintain your pay across this period. Our staff are like our family, and over the last 18 months, we've asked them to live only on JobKeeper. We've asked them to put off their mortgages because we couldn't afford to pay them. When we came back after the first lockdown, I said to everybody, I need you to work part-time so that this business can get through this period, and they've given up so much for us. So going into this lockdown, I said to everyone, I really want to find a way to maintain your pay at the level that it's been at. And we've managed to find a way to do that for all of our staff. That has, for some, involved them taking paid leave if they've chosen to do so. Some have chosen not to do that, and some are really happy just to take the $600 stand down that they're able to get and be stood down completely and not get any top up. And others need to top up so that they can survive, you know, pay their mortgages and feed their families. And we're more than happy for them to take their paid leave during that period. There's also changes are still in place on the way you can use long service. So some people are able to use their long service leave through this period as well. But of course, that's up to them. And we're working through individually with every one of our permanent employees about what's the best fit for them to get them through.
Tell me about some of the stories that you're hearing about people who either don't have the contingencies, don't have the float. Are there people who, if this thing goes for another couple of weeks, they are going to have to really think about whether they stay in business?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the second biggest attraction in the Blue Mountains Explorer bus decide to shut their doors and indefinitely at this stage at the beginning of the school holidays. So once school holidays effectively got cancelled and we went into lockdown, they decided they weren't going to be able to operate anymore. And you know, it's a really sad story. There's smaller operators making those same decisions every day. And I guess the concerning thing is that are we going to have an industry and are we going to have enough product to lure internationals back?
Real people are hurting right now. We tell their story each and every night. And straight after the break, we're going to tell you the story of some COVID heroes in Melbourne. This is going to make you smile, I promise. So don't go to bed. Plenty more here on Paul Murray Live.
Tomorrow on Headline News, National Cabinet meets for crisis talks. Border communities battle confusing bubble rules and the east thaws after a run of freezing nights. Headline News tomorrow morning.
It's back. IGA Tasmania's big giveaway.
We're giving you over 50 chances to win a share of $75,000 in prizes. Simply spend $25 at your local IGA and include participating brands. The more you buy, the more chances to win. There are 6 $2,000 vouchers to be used at either Freycinet, Strawn or Cradle Mountain. 10 IGA gift cards to be won each week. And one lucky winner will drive away in the Mercedes A180. Start shopping at your local IGA and enter now.
Experience the best at Harvey Norman. Great mobiles and tablets under $299. Nokia 1.4 32 gig, now only $128, save $40. More storage, more power with the Nokia 3.4 64 gig, now $198, save $50. Bring your content to life with this 10.4-inch display Samsung Galaxy Tab A7 Wi-Fi. Just $298, save $80. These deals and more on now. Experience the best at Harvey Norman.
I have a wedding business and accommodation. COVID was really quite hard. We lost 90% of our business. What helped us change was Beyond the Curve program. I was over the moon when I got the funding. It's such an honour for me to be involved in people's weddings. We didn't expect to get help from mining, but that money helped every business that it was given to. We're very excited to be back in business. It's a great feeling.
Struggling to clean those hard-to-reach places? Well, not anymore. Now shimmy yourself clean with Shimmy Scrub, the fun new body scrubber that quickly and easily scrubs your body clean. Just add soap or body wash, then shimmy. Over 1,000 soft, rejuvenating bristles clean, massage and exfoliate your skin while removing dirt and oil. And when your deep clean is done, flip it over for an exhilarating massage. Buy online from Global Shop Direct. Also available at these leading retailers.
Is mate all set?
Ready to go. Get more time with your mates. Mate Industries, smart irrigation systems.
For real news and honest views. Sky News on Win.
Harvey Norman. Everything you need in electrical, technology, furniture and bedding. Shop in-store and online today.
Thanks to Harvey Norman for their support. It helps us to continue to tell the great stories that make this country what it is, including the number of people that have been through lockdown way too many times in Victoria, way too many times in Melbourne, but they never give up. They will never break, and they are the heroes of the latest lockdown. Julia Bradley has the story from Melbourne.
It's a scene all too familiar for Melburnians. Once bustling Bourke Street, now empty, businesses fighting to hang on 5 lockdowns later. Across town, a group of essential workers are gathering at their Brunswick kitchen for a routine night of giving back. Volunteers for the Big Umbrella Foundation meet twice a week preparing meals with surplus food. They deliver them to the homeless and disadvantaged at Federation Square.
Over the last 10 years, we've worked with over 35,000 volunteers coming in from week to week, so quite a big operation. Every week we get a delivery from Oz Harvest or Second Bite. It's all rescued food from supermarkets, cafes and restaurants. Up to 500 kilos, and on that day we repurpose that into meals, cook about 250 meals out of that 500 kilos and take it out in the street and serve it that night. Well, we had to close down our Fed Square service because we attracted quite a large number of crowds, and we moved to a meal delivery service. We went from 2 nights a week to 7 nights a week overnight.
Victoria's recent weather events also commanding an immediate response. Justin's entire business model is focused on giving back to the environment by fighting food waste.
So Justin, can you talk me through this sustainable garden that you have at the back of the kitchen?
Yeah, sure. So now we're hoping to grow our own food and not just rely on the food that we get from Oz Harvest and Second Bite. We hope to be able to produce enough food to support any community or organisation that needs to in the future with any fresh produce that we have.
Another organisation serving the community is Youth Activating Youth. Founded by 24-year-old Ahmed Hassan, the group advocates for young people from largely migrant communities.
So we support them in education, employment, health and wellbeing, and obviously more recently, obviously in the justice space and rehabilitation is a key area we work in. But obviously more recently in the last 18 months it's been COVID response, so helping the most vulnerable families with bills, utilities and trying to support them with food and essential packages.
Ahmed knows firsthand the challenges the pandemic can pose. He was one of the youngest people to contract the virus during Melbourne's second wave.
I spent a number of days in hospital trying to recover from the virus. So it was a pretty difficult time, some dark days.
His organisation prides itself on going full circle. Tony Franco was once ready to give up when he couldn't find work.
I would have probably headed down like a different path if it wasn't for him, so that's why I'm very grateful for him.
Now he's a senior volunteer and studying a diploma in youth work. Before the pandemic, 1 in 5 people in Greater Melbourne experienced food insecurity. That's now 1 in 3. Lockdowns have made it harder for people to escape family violence and maintain steady employment. And with no end in sight, uncertain times lay ahead. But thankfully, in Australia, when you get knocked down, there's always someone there to pick you back up.
Now, 2 of the blokes you just saw as the focus of Julia's excellent report there is Justin from Big Umbrella and Ahmed as well from the Youth Activating Youth. Lads, hello. Thank you so much for what you guys do and thanks for joining us tonight. Ahmed, just quickly, let's go back to that experience with COVID. How bad was it? How long did it take to get over it?
Thank you, Paul, for having me on the show today. Look, it took me about 5 days. I spent 5 days in hospital and it was pretty difficult because I had an underlying condition which was type 1 diabetes, and I'm very glad that I've recovered. I was one of the lucky ones.
And Justin, the idea now that, like many businesses, you've had to turn to a different way of doing what you do, the idea of delivery, how many different locations would you hit in any one night of the 7 nights you have to help out?
G'day, Paul. We service 10 of the crisis accommodation hotels in the CBD, and it was 7 nights a week. And during the emergency relief, we hit 4 locations in 10 days. So, yeah, it was quite busy.
Well, lads, I want to help you out, and Harvey Norman want to help you out as well. So I'm pleased to say that tonight, on the behalf of Harvey Norman, I'm going to pass on the news that both of you have got $2,000 that you can spend in store, whatever you guys want for both of what you do. $2,000 from Harvey Norman. You can buy whatever you want in the store. Good on you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks, Paul. Great news.
Thanks, Paul.
Good stuff. Keep up the amazing work, and thank you so much to Harvey Norman. As I say, $2,000 they can spend in store on whatever the heck they like for their efforts, which is really cool. Now, also, Harvey Norman is really helping out the Paralympic effort, and the Paralympic effort is one that is not just the Herculean effort of having to be a world-class athlete, but obviously a world-class athlete who has to work even harder than anyone else you're going to see in the next couple of weeks. The Paralympics. It's one of the best displays that humankind has of what it means to march through adversity and triumph beyond measure. It was back in 1944 that Dr. Ludwig Gutmann, a refugee from Nazi Germany, had opened a spinal injury centre to help veterans and civilians injured during wartime. He saw no reason why the disabled couldn't be active participants when it came to competitive sport. He was right then, and he's right now.
How important are games like these to paraplegics? Very important, see, from both the physical and psychological point of view, but the most important is from the point of the social reintegration of the paralyzed into society.
So in 1948, the day of the opening ceremony of the London Olympic Games, he organised the first competition wheelchair athletes. 16 injured servicemen and women taking part in archery. With that, the Paralympics was born and the first Paralympians entered history. 12 years later, it had grown to a competition with more than 400 athletes from 23 countries, and it's taken place every 4 years since. In 2021, the Paralympics are in Tokyo, Japan, and we've got one heck of an Aussie to barrack for this year, among many. Triathlete Katie Kelly. Supported by Harvey Norman, she'll be wearing the green and gold, and let me tell you, she's a downright legend.
To get the news that I was going to Tokyo today was just incredible relief. I mean, it's been a 5-year campaign. It's been a tough road, and I guess like a lot of athletes, the challenge of the postponement and the pandemic, and then some injuries. So I was just ecstatic to get that call.
This year, Katie will be defending the gold medal that she scored in Rio 4 years ago. But she won't be alone. You see, many Paralympians have guides who compete alongside them. And the relationship that Katie has with hers, Bree, is something special to see.
Competing as a vision impaired athlete, we have a guide, so we're tethered together in the swim, we ride a tandem bike, and we're tethered together on the run. You can imagine we spend a lot of time together in open water swimming, hours together on the bike and the run. It's a special partnership. It requires a lot of trust. I trust Bree, and her heart's in the right place. She'll see me in my most vulnerable, where I don't see, I trip over, I bump my head. Like, we have some funny moments, but you really want someone you know that has your back, and I think the other key word is respect.
In a further testament to Katie's Aussie legend status, in 2016 she set up the Sports Access Foundation to help Aussie kids with a disability participate in sport. And 3 of her grant recipients will be at the Paralympics this year.
I'm so excited that 3 of our recipients, Cole Pearce was awarded in 2017, he's a para swimmer. His story is amazing and challenging in that he lost his foot in a farming accident. He's from country Victoria. Jamison Leeson, this is someone you have to look up, from Dunedoo, New South Wales. She travels up to 300 k's to get to training at the New South Wales Institute of Sport. So just think about that. It's not 20k away. She travels with her mum 300 kilometres to get to training in Boxia. She's been doing her HSC. She's made the Australian Paralympic team. And the 3rd recipient we awarded, Kira Stevens from Brisbane, para swimmer, physical disability. She's made the Australian team. So I'm so chuffed to ensure that our next generation of Paralympians and a next generation of aspiring Paralympians have every opportunity to achieve their goals.
So when you tune in to watch the Paralympics, keep an eye out for Katie, because I'm telling you right now, she's going to do Australia proud.
Just honoured to represent Australia and all of you.
How good is Katie and Bree and everyone else will be part of that team? Thanks to Harvey Norman for helping them out and us to bring our town to you every single month. Now let's go to the Northern Territory where, you know, I love this place. Any chance to be able to get into the special airboats and go around and have a look at the crocs, at the beautiful scenery? Well, you remember this experience that we had at Explore the Wild just outside of Darwin last year. I think I'm still sweating from the humidity, but it was really cool. Now that we've scared the HR department of Sky News, yeah, I'm blaming them for being scared right now. Can we feed him?
Mate, absolutely. He's certainly earned his food
You hungry,
here today.
tripod? You want something?
Ready to go?
Not me? Gee whiz, okay.
Gonna let go. He's never gonna win that tug of war.
See you, buddy.
So he needs to put his head up above the water to
swallow.
Listen to this.
Like me with nuggets. Tim Johnson is the man who, just has the hardest job in the world, doesn't he? Full time there, and being part of that operation in the Northern Territory. Tim, nice to see you again, mate. How are you guys holding up when, so much of the country can't come and hang out?
Paul, good to see you too, mate. It is a little bit tough at the moment up here, mate. Business has certainly been hard hit with our two biggest markets, not allowed to travel, which is hard. And now we've got South Australia. Things are looking a little bit tough, mate. Yeah, very much so.
Because apart from experiences like being able to go and say g'day to Tripod, being able to get around in the airboats, you've got the capacity for people to stay on site. Now, that's obviously such a huge part of what you do. So the hope is that if South Australia can, let's say, get out in the next, where it only goes that full 7 days, does the trickle from South Australia help? Does it start to get things, moving in the right area?
Like, we are moving in the right area, but all those markets, whenever they can travel, always help us. Whenever those taps are turned off, for whatever reason it is, it really hurts our small economy up here. Tourism is great, and we saw prior to the most recent lockdown some really good numbers and really good signs. We were lucky enough to host some outdoor events such as the Base in the Grass and V8 supercars up here, which brought a lot of interstate travellers. So that bit's been really good, mate. But now with the most recent lockdowns, it's tough. But, mate, if South Australia were to open up, I'm sure we'd accept them in with open arms. We'd love to see them back.
So of those that, if New South Wales and Victoria are out of play for a little while, are you getting enough flow from Queensland, Western Australia and South Australia? And then presumably, I don't know whether the New Zealand bubble can sort of pop over towards Darwin, but are you getting enough travel from those places if Sydney and Melbourne are out of play?
Mate, we could always ask for more, and that would be great. And those two markets that are locked down at the moment, plus South Australia, are our biggest ones up here. But what we've seen is a lot of locals travel. It's been great to see the locals get out and travel. We are still getting the Queenslanders come up. Great to see them. So, yeah, mate, but definitely would love to see the guys down from Victoria and New South Wales get back in and come up and say g'day at some stage.
Well, when Australia is free again, write it down. Matt writes, Explore the World is the awesome experience where you can do all the stuff you've seen on telly and a whole lot more. Good on you, mate. Nice to talk to you. Thank you so much, Tim.
Great to talk to you too, mate. Good to see you, and look forward to seeing you up here at Cracker Night, eh?
Yeah, yes, please. I know it's been delayed. That's going to be magnificent. All right, thank you, mate.
It's going to be huge. See you, Paul.
Bloody oath it will be. Also, part of the fun we've had while we're on the road is to celebrate places like Cairns, where, remember, I got to ride in a tank. A little more of the experience in the far north right after the break.
This is Sky News on Win, Australia's news channel.
Experience the best at Harvey Norman. Great mobiles and tablets under $299. Nokia 1.4 32 gig, now only $128, save $40. More storage, more power with the Nokia 3.4 64 gig, now $198, save $50. Bring your content to life with this 10.4-inch display Samsung Galaxy Tab A7 Wi-Fi. Just $298, save $80. These deals and more on now. Experience the best at Harvey Norman.
If your
life has been turned upside down by someone else's negligence, you may be entitled to thousands of dollars in compensation. Find out where you stand. Call Accident Injury Compensation Service on 1300 132 784. We have a team of expert solicitors that can determine if you're entitled to compensation fast. And if you don't win, we don't charge. So for friendly, obligation-free advice, call Accident Injury Compensation Service on 1300 132 784.
At Smart Kits Australia, we're your trusted online supplier of prefabricated home improvement kits for people to DIY their very own outdoor lifestyles. Specifically tailored for your home, your Smart Kit arrives with everything you need. Decks, patios, flyover roofs, carports and insulated roofing. All prefabricated, fully engineered and delivered anywhere in Australia. Beat the steel price rise now and save thousands on your 100% Australian-made Smart Kit. Build your own outdoor lifestyle with Smart Kits Australia.
On now at Harvey Norman. Get 60 months interest free and receive a bonus gift card up to the value of $500. The more you spend on 60 months interest free, the greater the value of the bonus gift card. Shop for laptops, TVs, fridges, ovens, lounges, beds, mattresses, rugs and so much more. Take advantage of 60 months interest free. That's no deposit, no interest with 60 equal monthly payments. And receive a bonus gift card valued at up to $500. Now at Harvey Norman.
Go!
Due to their size and weight, trucks take a lot longer than cars to stop. If you're on the road and see a big space between a truck and the vehicle in front of it, the truck driver has left this space as a safe stopping distance. If you pull into this space, the truck driver may not be able to stop in time. Give trucks the space they need to help keep us all safe on the road.
The Raiders hold out the Eels on the Gold Coast to score 3 straight wins for the first time this NRL season. The Western Australian government says it's open to the idea of an AFL finals hub in Perth. And Australia's softballers get their first win at the Tokyo Games with the opening ceremony now just hours away. Hello, welcome. You're watching Fox Sports News. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Kath Durkin. Well, the NRL is investigating Blues hooker Api Koroisau for an alleged COVID breach during this year's Origin series. It's claimed by the Daily Mail that the Panthers star brought a female into camp ahead of Game 2. Koroisau has been interviewed by the NRL Integrity Unit after it was made aware of the potential breach by the New South Wales Rugby League. Chief Executive David Trodden said, "We will provide the NRL with whatever cooperation they need in order to finalise their investigations in relation to the matter." While the NRL said the New South Wales Rugby League has advised the NRL Integrity Unit of an alleged biosecurity breach after Game 2 of the State of Origin series. The NRL Integrity Unit is currently investigating the matter. Panthers officials have refused to comment on the matter. While it's being investigated, the incident does come after Maroons forward Jai Arrow was caught bringing a woman into camp ahead of Game 3. Well, the boss of the English Rugby League has launched an extraordinary attack on Australia and New Zealand after the Southern Hemisphere nations confirmed they wouldn't be competing in this year's World Cup in the UK. The ARL Commission and New Zealand Rugby League have called for the tournament to be postponed until 2022, citing concerns about the spread of COVID-19. The chairman of the Rugby Football League has labelled the decision selfish and cowardly.
This selfish, parochial and cowardly decision is one that needn't have been taken because the Rugby League World Cup organisers have bent over backwards to offer every assurance to the Australians and to the Kiwis. I think the British public would want to know why they've made that decision now about a tournament in October when they have athletes currently in Tokyo, participating in the Olympics, when their rugby union team, the Wallabies, is planning to come to Wales in October, when the New Zealand cricket team have been here already to participate. So there is something that the rugby league authorities believe that is insurmountable.